What's up, everybody? My name is Tristan Jackson.
I'm Jim Schuster.
And we are the Safety Hive by Martin Technical. So this is a new podcast, vlog, blog, whatever you want to call it. It's just a way for us to really get some best practices on safety, the industry, overall culture to you guys out there. I just wanted to kind of formally introduce ourselves, maybe give a little bit of background. I'm going to probably mostly get you to do most of the talking. I'm just going to facilitate questions, at least the start of this. So
Right.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the CEO of Martin Technical. Have a background, varied background, a little bit of safety, a little bit of manufacturing, a little bit of engineering, and I kind of rolled it all together and been working for Martin Technical now for about 10 years.
Gotcha. So, and you primarily started the industry in lockout tagout services, or how did that whole?
Yeah, there's really two areas that we really started. We really started with electrical safety. So our company grew out of a training company.
Okay.
They were doing a lot of electrical safety training, and it was at the time when arc flash was just coming along.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were doing the training, people would say, "Hey, who can do this arc flash engineering?" And pretty soon we raised our hands. We say, "Hey, we can do it." So that's where we really started. Then we evolved into the lockout tagout industry, and that's an area where we're one of the global leaders for lockout tagout.
Sweet. And maybe I can give them a little background on why I'm part of this now. So I actually, my name is Tristan Jackson. I'm actually helping Martin Technical develop a new area of business, I guess we would say. It's the software part of the industry. And my background mostly comes from the technology side and doing a lot of business development. So so we kind of were talking about, what Safety Hive could be for the industry and using your vision and your mission and just some of my experience. I'm building a product, and we're hoping that the software is not just complementary for the services side that Martin Technical is doing, but for everybody else out there in the industry.
Absolutely.
So, to kind of get away from introductions, I thought more than anything, let's start talking about maybe the first thing that's probably the most important in our hearts is, and not to get all touchy gooey, but I think one of the biggest things we think about is culture. Right.
Absolutely.
Safety culture is something that you constantly talk about with us, and I'm starting to learn more about this industry. Just the evolving role of safety management. So maybe I can ask you this question: how do you see safety management roles kind of changing in today's environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's been tremendous changes, and it's coming from a lot of areas. But, from the 30,000-foot view, what's really happened is safety managers used to be kind of a mid-management level. Okay. They had their role and their place, but, in recent years, they're really being elevated to the executive team. They're becoming a core part of executive teams.
Wow. So a little bit more kind of background to that. So when you say mid-management, we're maybe it's a guy that's just kind of been a safety supervisor, right, on the work floor. He's really just been elevating just safety procedures and processes. Right. And now it's kind of like, it's just getting such a big area in the industry that it's like, this is a financial area as well. Is that kind of where that's going, or what's kind of driving the whole movement to that?
Yeah, no. So there's a lot of driving factors, and I think one of the big things is safety is really kind of the last frontier in businesses. So if you look back, going back, especially in like manufacturing stuff, there was a big push, for efficiency.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it was, quality control, right? Mm-hmm. And then in recent years, we've seen environmental, right? Including, programs like LEED is my planter facility green, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
So things like that. And we've come through a lot of these and really kind of like I said, the last frontier is really kind of safety. Mm. And I think the industry is kind of focusing that way today. And companies are starting to understand the importance of safety, and that's what's elevating their role. And a lot of this is being driven by, I think, is going to be driven by the new ISO 45001.
Okay, wait. So ISO 40,
yeah.
it's like huge. I have no idea what that
Yeah.
is.
So let's not confuse people too much. But I think a lot of people are probably familiar with ISO 9000 and 9001, which again, those were like quality control things.
Oh.
Yeah. And on a global basis, where it really became helpful was you had, if you had a plant or factory in China and you want to do business in Europe, they're like, well, how do we know your quality? And they'd say, well, look, we're ISO 9001 certified, which goes through all the steps. It says they've done all the proper things.
Gotcha.
So ISO 45001 is pretty similar, but it's focused on the safety side. So now with this introduction, people are going to be saying, it's kind of like looking at some of the social movements we had in the past. Are your clothes being made, by children? Not making money.
Example,
but now we're saying, okay, I want to know if your work staff is safe, because we only want to do business with companies that are working safe. And I think that's where ISO 45001 is going to really drive the new safety culture across the world. I think people are going to be looking to see if you're ISO 45001 certified, just like they were looking for ISO 9000, 9001 for quality control in your manufacturing.
So compliances, and just that whole area, and where culture is evolving. Maybe you can give a little bit of a background and just help me even understand, what it means to like the culture that you had maybe even 10 years ago or even the last 5 years. Like what kind of culture was that?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing that's changed is safety managers used to be looked at quite frequently as policemen.
Oh,
right. They're there to write the laws and enforce the laws.
Okay.
Right. And a lot has changed now. It's because we understand behavioral sciences better. We understand what motivates people better, and they're becoming more of facilitators and coaches, right?
Gotcha.
Trying to empower the workforce. If you're a policeman, if you're still being a policeman as a safety manager, your days are probably pretty short. That role is gone. It's now got to be a much higher level safety management, where you've really got to look at, how am I implementing safety into this culture?
Gotcha.
How am I going to get people to participate in this safety culture?
Right.
Improve morale, all those sorts of things.
And you kind of mentioned, I think one big thing that was the behavior changing.
Yes.
Right. I mean, just with anything and being a good coach or being a good leader, it's really just giving people the mission and vision of what we're trying to accomplish, and then teaching that behavior. Even in my experiences with companies like Apple, even Comstore, really good leaders were not just people that were policing or nagging as much as they were just trying to fix the behaviors, and then using things like technology to kind of enforce that.
Right.
So is that kind of where the industry is heading right now, or what does that look like?
Well, are you, well, I mean, we talked a little bit about the behavior side.
Right.
Absolutely. There's a big push in the whole industry right now of behavior-based safety. And a lot of that is proactive instead of reactive. I guess that's the thing you can look at. The safety in the past used to be a lot of reactive.
Okay.
Something happened, how do we fix it? Now it's more proactive of, how do we change behavior so the accident or incident doesn't happen in the first place?
Right.
And then the second part you mentioned was technology.
Yeah.
So technology is changing too. So how does that impact the safety manager? You got to be computer savvy, obviously, and there's data. Right. So
information technology world. Right.
So now instead of just pumping out documents and being the policeman, now you've got to look at data. You've got to be able to use the data. And again, that's what's elevating the safety managers up. And some of the other skill sets they need to start using and learning if they don't already have them. There's that spot. I think the other part too is just the software. We're seeing, I mean, as you're working a lot on software.
Right. Yeah.
But software is creeping in everywhere in our lives, whether it's an app on your phone or a desktop application, whether it is on machinery out in the plant. whatever, technologies everywhere. So they're kind of in charge of some technical areas now too. They've got to be tech savvy and be able to understand what tools can help them get the best results.
Right.
So yeah, those are big changes.
Well, that's interesting because, it's like we talk about the workforce and where the industry is going, and maybe even for the audience here, it's maybe you're just not in that management role right now. Maybe you're not the supervisor. Maybe you're just that person that's, like I was a picker, right? At a distribution center, driving a pallet jack and literally almost lost my leg. But now where can maybe my career path go? And maybe I'm just that tech savvy person, right? And I'm good at and analyzing data. So, instead of using social media just to record some stupid stuff, I mean, obviously, I don't know if you guys have ever gone to Reddit, but there's this Reddit OSHA thing. It is hilarious and also very scary.
I've never seen it.
It's terrible. No, it's awesome.
I'm gonna be checking it out.
But social media, right? It's starting to record things, and why not use that behavior for good?
Well, yeah, no, that's a great point. I think there's two sides to that sword, really, because you're right. If you're savvy, you can use the social media in a leadership or communication role in any position, but certainly as safety leadership as well. That might be a great way to get out topics of the month or something like that. Recording's kind of similar to what we're doing here. But I think the other side of the sword is maybe more interesting, and that is the potential. I don't say negative side, but eyes and ears and videos are everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of things that happened in the past that would maybe go under the radar and not notice. One or two people knew about them. But today's world has changed. The social media has changed. And I think that impacts safety as well, especially the younger generation, right? They're not afraid of speaking up.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of capturing something on a phone and publicizing it. And now I think that gives a little bit more exposure to anybody, in a plant facility, whatever. I think some things that maybe in the past were maybe not talked about as much, they can also be taken with a video, posted online anonymously.
Yeah.
And now there's great exposure. So there's another good reason to have the best safety culture you can. Because I think what's going on with the technology generation here, I think there's the exposure has always been the same, but it could be promoted across media platforms very quickly.
Right.
And I think along with that too is not just the media side of it. I think the younger generation, they have a little bit different outlook. I think our parents probably, when they were looking at jobs, sometimes tough conditions, things like that, they're like, hey, I'm going to sweat through it. This is work. This is a job.
Yeah.
And I think that's changed. I mean, now we need to have bean bags and free snacks to keep people happy.
That actually is happening here. The bean bags,
we don't have bean bags, but we do have free snacks here. So that's the other part is, when you're looking at developing a workforce to retain the new generations, you got to have a culture that is going to make them comfortable. And I think the days of working in places that are dangerous, or not maybe dangerous, but that doesn't have the right safety culture, I think people are, they'll be calling them out and say, this is not a place I want to work anymore. And so I think if you want to retain people, you've got to have the right safety culture. Now, again, it's one of those last frontiers. You got to have quality, got to have a good work environment. Safety is part of that. Right. You got to be green.
Yep. Got
to be a little bit flexible. Some of those things, so that's just how things change. And that's really where I think, safety's rolling in. And that's why it's pushing some of these managers up the ladder to the C level. Cause like I said, it's just not writing a policy and being a policeman anymore.
Right.
It's changing the culture. And I think the last part, though, is really financial. Because if you look at it, I think the data that we have today and the history of the cost of downtime, the cost of incidents, the cost of legal fees,
all the analytics.
There's more information and it's bloomed. So finance is now important.
Cool. All right. So speaking of social media, literally we're putting this stuff on YouTube. We're going to be putting this information on Twitter, LinkedIn.
Yep.
I mean, we're trying to get this content out to you guys, because what I think we want to do is not just give you some insights to what's happening into the industry, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear your feedback. And more than anything, we want to continue making our podcast and just our videos interesting.
Yeah.
You know, things that are going to help you guys along in specific areas of the industry. So we've got one thing that we will ask you guys to do, and that is maybe even download the Anchor Radio app. So it's on Google, it's on iTunes, whatever it is. But literally, you can subscribe to our channel. You can actually record a question, and then we'll put it into our show. So we'll put it into our show. So that's one way you can be involved. You could also engage with us on social media. So if you want to make comments on YouTube, or maybe you watch this on LinkedIn and you just want to give us some feedback on things that we can, share and give insight to, that's a good place to do that as well.
Can we give them your cell phone number?
We will not give you my cell phone number. Okay. I just don't want a lot of calls.
Yeah. No, but we do want feedback. I think actually, if you look at where I'm at today, it's because of the hundreds of plants and facilities I've been in, the questions people have asked me, things I've learned from other people. Mm-hmm. So really, the more questions we get, the better we become, the more we learn, the more we can give back.
Right.
And consolidating all this information from multiple points and pushing it back out is kind of best practices. Yeah,
and we'd love to hear from you guys, and maybe even take a chance to have you guys be part of the show.
Yeah, want to be a guest? Come on.
Yeah.
We can do it remote, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They can call in through the Anchor Radio app, and they could just be a guest.
That'd be awesome.
It's just like crazy what technology is doing these days.
Let's get it done. All right.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. We'll see you guys later, and feel free to subscribe to our channel. Follow us on LinkedIn or all the social media platforms, and we'll see you guys later. Take care.
Be safe.